Hi, thanks for volunteering to lead your child's big backyard walk. I'm Sarah. I'm going to orient you to the program and the materials you'll need to be a successful walk leader. First thing I'll mention is that documentation for the walk, which contains a map of where all the stations can be found, and also questions that you can ask the students on the walk, heading out on the walk, and also on the way back, can be found here at the carousel at the front of the school. So please make sure if you don't attend the training in person to stop by and pick one up, and then head on in to your student's classroom where the teachers will give you your group of children, including your own child, and then you'll head out on the walk. At the end of the walk, please return the documentation here so we can use them for other classes. When we head out on the walk, there will be a number of stations, and each one will be marked with brightly colored flagging. We will show you where those are on this video, and they will also be marked on the map. But the other thing you can do is just use your eyes when you get out there and look for anything bright and flashy, pink and green and other colors. All right, we're gonna head out now. So this is the grade 1 winter walk, and thanks for coming along for this walk. The documentation for this walk will let you know that we're talking about animals and what they need to survive, specifically focusing on winter and how this is different than it was when the students went out in the fall. This walk is going to be heading out the back door of the school. We'll head there in a minute, but I just wanted to show you on here, there's questions you can discuss with the students on the way out. What do they see outside that has changed since the fall? What are different ways animals spend the winter? Talking about migration. Have you seen active animals? Questions like that. Let's head out and see what we can find. So we've walked up the driveway from the back of the school, and here we are at the beginning of the Hennessy Field Meadow and Paint Mine Trail. If you look around, you'll see there's a lot of pink and green flagging. The pink flagging is marking the 5 different stations for this walk that we're going to visit in just a minute. The green flagging is there to highlight particular features for some of the stations. So we're at the Habitat Needs and Winter Adaptation Station. There's a couple different activities at this station. Everything at each station is explained in detail on the sheet. So questions to ask students and activities and how to do them. At this one, the first question and activity are, what are the habitat needs that animals have? And each of the 5 ones, the students should have a good idea already, but they're each listed on a popsicle stick, which you can hand to each student as they say the name of air, food, shelter, water, warmth, and try to get the students to talk about how those different needs are different or harder to get maybe in winter than they were in the fall or in the spring and summer. The popsicle sticks are just going to be in a little bag hanging on the station post. Additionally, at this station, we'll talk about the adaptations that animals have to cope with things like cold in winter, such as thicker fur and putting on extra fat. We'll also talk about hibernation, which animals do hibernate and which ones don't. And there's an activity the students can do to practice their own hibernation breathing. Here we are at the animal shelter station. Animals always need shelter, but especially in winter when it's so cold. So at this station, we talk about lots of different types of shelters that animals may use, and some of those are flagged here in the meadow or at the edge of the forest. If you see right now, there's green flagging. In other years, it might be a different color flagging, and the features we're flagging might vary from year to year as nests and other aspects animals use, maybe just in different places in different years. This year, we've got the station set up right next to a grass tunnel that mice use, and you can ask the students why they think animals like mice might burrow through a grass tunnel. How does that provide them a shelter? From what? It might be a bit different than the kind of shelter an animal would take in the snag of an old tree or inside the rock wall on the other side of the meadow. So again, many types of shelters are described on the sheet and questions you can ask the students. Another favorite sign of looking for animals in winter is looking for their footprints in the snow. So unfortunately, we don't have any snow out today to look for them, but I'm sure the students have seen turkey prints on their street or other kinds of animal footprints, even their own footprints before. With or without snow, this station can be a lot of fun. We have examples of different animals' footprints, and we highlight differences on the sheet that you'll be able to read. We highlight differences between some really common animals that have maybe similar shaped feet but make very different patterns in the snow. We can talk about the different size animals and the size footprints they make. So if you do have footprints on the ground, students can try to figure out who it is. But additionally, they can look at these different footprints and they can just practice in the meadow, having a lot of fun hopping around, bouncing around like a bunny, trying to make their own imaginary footprints. So at this station, we're going to talk about the food and water needs that animals have in winter and some signs that animals, the active animals, have been out having nibbles at branches, maybe nibbling acorns. When we find those around, well, it's a sign that animals have been active in this area. So at this station, there's a description of different kinds of nibbles that rabbits versus deer make on plants. And we have a plant back here flagged to illustrate one of those, just as an example plant. But we also set up some flagging off farther down the path just to bound a search area where we know there is not poison ivy, where the students can look around for other signs of nibbled branches. There's a picture on here to help illustrate. There's the example plant, and then the kids can have a lot of fun looking for some themselves. Other signs on the ground would be acorns and berry bits left over. The students can have a lot of fun looking for those too. One of the reasons that animals are nibbling on branch buds and on berries and nuts in the winter so much is they have a much harder time getting the water they need, not just the nutrition. So we can talk about how much water content is stored in the buds of branches rather than in the bark. And finally, the last station we're talking about today is sure to be fun for the children. It's all about scat. That is animal poop. That is another sign that an active animal has been here in the winter. So at this station, what we have is we're actually providing several different types of animal scat, some from deer, rabbits, coyote, whatever we find available, but those are 3 of the most commonly found around here. We have some descriptions about how they might be different on the information sheet, and I would like to invite you to have the children take a look at these. They're closed containers. You can take a look at, you can see the differences in color, shape. In the coyote scat, there's a lot of fur to look at. You can talk about signs that this animal eats a very different diet than the deer and the rabbits. So there's a lot you can learn about animals from their poop in the winter too. So thanks for watching our video about all 5 of the stations on the grade 1 winter walk. These stations do not have to be done in order. You can do them in any order. If you come upon a station and there's already a group there, just go on to another station. All of them are marked on the map that you got with your documentation today. You can come back to a station later. If your group has a wonderful time exploring and thinking and talking about one station and you run out of time, that's okay too. Just have a great time out here exploring. Hopefully the students have learned about nibbled branches and other things to look for that they can look for in between the stations and on their own walks at home.